Hi, thank you for joining me today. And in today's video, I am documenting 2 photos of my daughter and her friends when they went to see the new Barbie movie at our local cinema. So I've grabbed out my Heart Eyes collection from Simple Stories. I thought this would be absolutely perfect to go with these very pink pictures. So in the foyer of the cinema up in town in Warrington, they have a Barbie box that you can have your photos taken in, which is the photo of Amelia standing up, and then they have the Barbie light up lights, and they had a picture of 3 of the girls in front of the Barbie light up lights. So I've chosen these 2 photos. I've printed them 3x4, and they're the ones that I'm going to document today. They actually had an epic cinema trip because they went to see Barbie, then they went out for lunch, and then they went back to see Oppenheimer. I think that's quite the trend at the moment. So she was shattered at the end of it, but really enjoyed it. So I've just grabbed 2 of these papers from the Heart Eyes collection, and I've just torn 2 strips which I'm going to overlap again on top of one another. I'm wetting the edges so that I can curl them, and the curl will stay as that water dries. You can see the background card is just a plain white cardstock, which I braided with some pink when I was having a mess about with mixed media the other day. This does actually predominantly get covered, but I thought it would work nicely with these photos, and that's why I pulled it out. I literally just took my worn lipstick ink and watered it down to make like a watercolour, and used a brayer to roll that over the middle of the card. If you saw my layout of our anniversary meal at Las Ramblas, it was a practice for that. So I've stuck those 2 strips of paper together, and I'm just using my pencil to draw a line where they're going to go on the page, and then using my texture paste to push through this Tim Holtz stencil. I love this dotty stencil because it's irregular dots, if you like, so it works really nicely. And I just wanted these to poke out underneath those papers. In actual fact, by the end of the layout, true to form, most of this, if not all, is covered. But I really like the look of it, and I am going to try again and try really hard not to cover the whole page. Sometimes I try a minimalist look and then just keep going, and suddenly more than half the page is covered. But I do like the way this layout turns out. So while that's drying, I'm just going to mat the 2 photos onto some white cardstock just to provide a bit of separation between all the busyness that I have going on in the background once this layout's done. The photos are really quite dark, so this also lifts them slightly. Obviously in the foyer of the cinema it is quite dark, and they wanted these lights to shine, I think. So using some of the scraps of this collection, I'm just going to mat these photos, this one on the hexagon paper and then the other one on a striped paper. I don't actually have any full 12x12 sheets left of this collection, but I still have plenty to be going on with. I keep thinking I'm going to break it down, but then when I look, I think there's enough to keep it as a collection for now. This was a nest box kit that Jackie Ashton and I did. It was our first nest box kit, and I absolutely loved working with it. We're on to our 3rd now, which is the retro summer one. So if you're interested, that's available on Hey Little Magpie. And we also have access only if you just want to see the classes and get extra inspiration from the retro summer collection. So do look on Hey Little Magpie. It's all available on there. So just working out how these photos are going to sit now, and now that texture paste is more or less dry, I can bring that page back in. So sticking the papers down, and the photos are going to be more or less where I've positioned them there. I wanted the one of Amelia on the right hand side because there was a bit of dead space on the left hand side of that photo. You can see that dark. So this was the best way to position them. Now I'm going to add foam pads. These are the 25mm Sticks 2 foam pads, and I'm just going to add them at the tops of the photos so that they can tuck neatly underneath the papers at the bottom. So they lay flat at the bottom, but then it just gives them a little bit of lift at the top. And I really like how that looks. It's not something I've done before, but I have seen other people doing it and thought I'd give it a go. So there we go, that's the photos down, and now I'm going to start embellishing. So I've got these tags that were cut from the 12x12 paper, and of course I'm having to peel up my foam pads that I've literally just stuck down to get these tucked underneath. And I decide that I'm going to use 3. It takes a little bit of faffing. This one that I like very much with the bingo card at the top has to and from on the tag, so I want to make sure that that's tucked right underneath. And in fact, I trim off the top and just tuck that under there. And then I add that third one to the right. And already you can see I'm building this layout up. I wanted to keep it all at the bottom of the page, but clearly that hasn't worked. And I found this flag banner that just says love, and I thought this would work really nicely with the Barbie theme. So I'm not exactly sure where that's going to go, but I'm just tucking things around, just having a play. The bingo board, the tic-tac-toe or noughts and crosses board is from the ephemera pack, and then there's this lovely record player from the 12 by 12 sticker sheet, which I've just tucked on the right there, and I will trim off that bit that's hanging over the edge. Then I find this sticker that says heart eyes, and I think that works nicely with these photos, so I shall pop that down there. And now I'm starting to get a feel for how this layout's going to come together. So again, adding some foam behind that noughts and crosses board, and then tucking the bottom underneath the heart eyes sticker. And then I can get that banner situated. And again, I'll add some foam pads behind that because it's going over those rolled papers. So I want to lift it up above the rolled papers so that it doesn't go all lumpy. So just using the two different sizes of foam pads there, both the 25mm and also the 6x12. And I'm having to cut those in half to go on those top little tassels that are at the top of the banner. Just getting those stuck behind there. And you can see I've pretty much covered up all of that texture paste now. So as I go to move the page, I realise I haven't actually stuck the tags down. So I'm just quickly doing that with my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive and then trimming off the edge of that sticker as I mentioned. Next I'm going to come in with the American seam binding that we've got at Hey Little Magpie now. This is all comes wrinkled for you, hand wrinkled, as you can see. And I'm just going to use 3 different colours of pink in each of these 3 tags and mix them in amongst one another and stick them down to the page. They're lovely and thin, so you can get a really nice look, and they add great texture without too much dimension. You can have dimension if you want, but you can glue them down fairly flat as well. So just adding a loop of stripy ribbon there to the left hand side. I just wanted to bring a little bit of black and white in, just to make the colours stand out even more. And then you can see I'm just adding little dots of glue to tack the ribbon down in various places. And I just love how this looks on the page. Really fills out that space as well. So that's 2 of them, and then I shall add the burgundy pink shortly, and I'm weaving the ribbons around one another as well to mix those colours nicely. So I've just added a little film reel there at the bottom right from the 12 by 12 sticker sheet, and then I'm looking through the word strips that they've got on there, and there's this one here that says for like ever. So I thought that would be really good for Barbie. So here's that burgundy pink that I was talking about. So I think it's called Boysenberry, I forget now. But just sticking that down and again twisting it in amongst that pale pink that's next to it. And I love the colour that that adds, as I say, at the top of the page with those 3 different colours there. Just checking that it's all neatly stuck down in strategic places. And there we have it. So next, these are some tickets from one of the 12 by 12 papers that I cut out and then used hole punches to create the perforations. So I start off with 2 here, and then I do come back in with the other 2 actually. I'm just roughing up the edges of the tags with my fingernails, just because we've got the distressed look along those papers at the bottom, so I wanted to add a bit of a distressed look to the tags as well. Almost there now, just giving them a little bit of a scuff up. And now I'm coming in with my tab punch and using that offcut from the tag that I added at the top there to create the tab, and this is going to hold my date, so just sticking that on there and then using some scrap white card to stamp my date and cut that out, and then that'll be stuck onto the top, and it was the 22nd of July. Just making sure that it's straight and thin enough to sit neatly on that tab. And I found that my date stamp is the perfect size for that tab punch. So 2023 is the last year actually of it, so I'll be sad when that goes. So I'll have to treat myself to a new one. So coming in again with those tickets, and just I've added a little phone, a blue phone from the 12x12 sticker sheet. And then just tucking in the other 2 tickets that I had. So now coming in with some Spiegelman scraps, sequins. I think these are called Golden Gates, and they're beautiful golds and pinks. So just scattering them around and gluing them where they land. I won't make you watch me glue them because it's painful, but I should just fade away. So they're all stuck down there now. And now I want to add a little bit of something for my journaling. So I'm pulling out these Ellie Studio Thankful stamps and stamping those with, I think it's warm lipstick, you will have seen it on the screen there, that I'm using just to stamp the details, stamp on some white cardstock, and then I can stick that on top of the pattern paper at the bottom. It doesn't need to be a lot of journaling. I just wanted to make sure that I included who Amelia had gone with and where they were. So just trimming that out, leaving a little white border because the paper's pink as well. I wanted it to stand out. And I'm actually going to trim off the right hand edge in a minute. I'm just using my hole punch to get those corners nice and neat. This single hole punch works perfectly on this stamp. And this is where I decide that I want to trim off that right hand edge. So just cutting that edge off, just so that it sits neatly against the edge of the page there. So now I'm happy with the positioning. I'm just going to find something to add to it so it doesn't look like just a stamp on its own. Glue that down, and then I can add the journaling to it. And the journaling just reads, a wonderful trip to town for the Barbie movie with Lewis, Ella, Abby, Tom and Elena. So now that's down, I'm coming in with Inklings in Hot Stuff, and I'm just going to add some splatters around the edge of the design. And when I've added that, I decide that actually pink isn't enough. It's Barbie, it needs to be sparkly, so I come in with gold watercolour as well. And any gold watercolour paint would work. Mine are Kuretake, Dancy Tambi ones that I got from Amazon, but you could, the Shimmers do some amazing gold watercolours as well, so do look at theirs. And that's pretty much the end of the layout. Thank you so much for joining me. I really hope you've enjoyed this. Heart Eyes is perfect for any Barbie photos that you might have. And I shall see you again very soon. Thanks so much. Bye.